Welcome to the Saul's Newsstand News Rewind for September 4th, 2020. The New York Post reports, Joe Biden botches remarks about COVID-19 death toll in speech. Former Vice President Joe Biden lost track of his thoughts during a campaign speech Monday about the number of coronavirus deaths as he blasted President Trump's handling of the pandemic.
COVID has taken this year, just since the outbreak, it's taken more than 100 years. Look, here's the lives. When you think about it, more lives this year than any other year for the past 100 years.
Biden also recently had problems during his speech in Pittsburgh when he took a shot at President Trump.
And stop your boast about never being seen at what you can do anything. You always talk about your ability to negotiate.
These are just the latest in a series of verbal gaffes by the Democratic nominee. When asked by a CBS reporter last month whether he would take a cognitive test, Biden became visibly irritated.
Mr. Vice President, your opponent in this election, President Trump, has made your mental state a campaign topic. And when asked in June if you'd been tested for cognitive decline, you've responded that you're constantly tested in effect because you're in situations like this on the campaign trail. But please clarify specifically, have you taken a cognitive test?
No, I haven't taken a test. Why the hell would I take a test? Come on, man. That's like saying before you got in this program, you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not. What do you think, huh? Are you a junkie?
What do you say?
He also regretted his comments during a May radio interview when talking about African Americans voting for Trump.
Listen, you got to come see us when you come to New York, VP Biden.
I will.
It's a long way until November. We got more questions.
You got more questions, but I tell you, if you have a problem figuring out whether you're for me or Trump, then you ain't black.
Biden later walked back the comments as him being too, quote, cavalier. An article from the Washington Examiner states, Princess Pelosi blames struggling salon on getting caught breaking shutdown rules. Nancy Pelosi had a full day to figure out how to respond to the exposed security footage showing the maskless House Speaker sauntering around a San Francisco salon in violation of local laws. The literal best excuse she could come up with was, and I kid you not, blaming the salon, claiming that it set her up and owes her an apology.
No, I've been there over the years. I've been there many times. I appreciate the question, and let me just say this. I take responsibility for trusting the word of a neighborhood salon that I've been to over the years many times, and that when they said, well, we're able to accommodate people one person at a time, and that we can set up that time, I trusted that. As it turns out, it was a setup, so I take responsibility for falling for a setup.
After advocating for months of economically devastating lockdowns and expressly blaming coronavirus cases on President Trump's push to reopen the nation, Pelosi had the audacity to treat herself to an illegal blowout and not even wear a mask. Perhaps the most brazen part about her defense was that in the same breath that she was using a political event for children as a bully pulpit to attack a struggling business, she claimed that she had been, quote, inundated with gratitude from salon workers and that this is a sign that we need to reopen. And finally, an op-ed from Senator Ted Cruz states, on national security, Americans have a clear choice in November. In November, Americans will have a clear choice. Do we want 4 more years of a president who has been tough on China and Iran, has forged peaceful relationships in the Middle East, and has stood firm with our allies and strong against our adversaries? Or do we want a president who will take us backward and reinstate the policies of the Obama-Biden administration, which endangered Americans by committing to the catastrophic Obama-Biden-Iran nuclear deal, entangled the United States in corruption in Ukraine and Russia, and allow China to take control of vast resources across the globe and even actively work to send our nuclear technology to the Chinese Communist Party regime? In the past 4 years, President Trump has accomplished real policy objectives that for decades politicians like to talk about, knowing full well they could never take the bold steps necessary to follow through. Moving the American embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem is just one example. I had the pleasure of leading the fight to move our embassy to the true and eternal capital of Israel. I advocated vigorously with President Trump to take that step, and he did. We opened the American Embassy in Jerusalem on the 70th anniversary of the creation of the modern State of Israel, and the move ushered in a new charter of friendship between our two nations. We would strongly encourage you to read the full op-ed by clicking on the link in the description below. And that concludes your Saul's Newsstand News Rewind for September 4th, 2020. For more political news faster, visit saulsnews.com.